set? Okay, call the meeting to order, please rise to salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call the members, please.
Councilmember Maury,
Here.
Councilmember Hunter,
Here.
Supervisor Trombley,
Here.
Councilmember Rochester, and Moore are absent.
Thank you. The approval of the minutes of the previous meeting from April 18th. As presented, does anybody have revisions required? I didn't see anything pertinent. Let's just,
Thank you.
All good to me. Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the April 18th minutes.
I'll second.
thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Need to do the public hearing. Is that Saturday? The noise one.
First is at 7, second 7:15.
Yep.
Okay, need a motion to leave the regular scheduled board meeting, go to public hearing.
Make a motion, we leave the regular board meeting and go into the public hearing scheduled for 7
And this is for noise ordinance.
for the noise ordinance.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. This public hearing is in regards to adopting noise ordinance, which is local law number 2 of 2023. The noise ordinance should be known as the Town of Champlain noise ordinance. The purpose of this ordinance is to preserve the public health, comfort, convenience, safety, and welfare of the Town of Champlain residents by reducing, controlling, and the prevention of unreasonable excessive noise. Unreasonable excessive noise is defined as any disturbing, excessive, or offensive sound or sounds that disturbs a reasonable person of normal sensitivities. Town of Champlain residents are entitled to live and work in an environment in which disturbing, excessive, or offensive noise is not detrimental to the lives, health, or enjoyment of their property. Is there any public comment in regards to the noise ordinance? Have you had time to review it as it was posted?
I'm not here to speak on it, but I'm glad you're doing it. I lived across the street from somebody in the village who would scream at all hours, all the time, all night long. Drive us mad. I called the cops 5 times. They couldn't do a thing. So thank you for doing this. That's all I gotta say.
Well, you're welcome. This will be for the town. The village does have a noise ordinance, but they may choose to have a look at this and adopt some of this verbiage if it's more pertinent than what they have already. It will be sent to them as well for their review. There is a piece in here regarding noise from a dog or the animal is continuous and exceeds 15 minutes. And the reason that's there is to give the code enforcement officer teeth to have to write a citation rather than just dog control officer handling it. Any other comments? If not, I guess we need a resolution, just close the meeting, correct?
Close the public hearing.
Okay, so we're gonna need a motion to close public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing and go back into regular session.
Regular session.
I'll second.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Was-
opposed?
Was there supposed to be a hearing about dog laws tonight? Is
Next
that
one.
later on?
That's the next one coming up.
Thank you.
Or we could do it at 7:15, or we could knock it out now. Instead of doing it now, and we'll go back to
Yeah.
a regular meeting, if that's okay. It's no problem doing it a few minutes early, right?
No.
Okay, so now I accept a motion to leave the regular business meeting, go into public hearing for local law number 3, the dog law, dog control law.
I'll make a motion to leave the regular meeting and go into the second public hearing scheduled for the evening on the dog law.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. I'll just read the purpose of this local law. Title is Dog Licensing and Control Law number 3 of the Code of the Town of Champlain. The purpose of this local law is to provide for the licensing and identification of dogs, the control and protection of the dog population, the protection of persons, property, domestic animals, and deer from dog attacks and damage, and to protect the health, safety, and well-being of persons and property by regulating and controlling the activities of dogs within the town of Champlain. So I open it up for public comment. Could you just state your name and address, please, when you address us? Stay on your phone.
My name is Jennifer Jewett. I live at 11109 State Route 9 in Champlain. I'm a taxpayer. I own my own home. I am hoping to get stricter dog laws in the town of Champlain because I've had a number of incidents. I've had golden retrievers for 23 years. I'm a retired military member. I've lived all over this country, in cities and towns, Las Vegas, Virginia, even in Europe over the course of my military career. I have walked my dogs in these places for 23 years, and I have never, ever had what happens here in Champlain happen as much, actually never, everywhere I've ever lived. And I thought about this today. How was I going to prove my point? And I'll make this brief. But I went around and made a list of every single place that while walking, I've had dogs lunge at me, okay? I've totaled up 7 different occurrences over the course of the past few years, okay? The first one I'm going to discuss real briefly, 44 Spruce Street. A Rottweiler was outside, a large dog, with its owner, and it just came at me right out into the middle of the road, chased me out into the road on Pine Street, okay? Just minding my own business with my dogs. Animal control officer was called on this occurrence. The next one, 32 Spruce Street. 5 dogs were off leash, not held by their owner. They came out and got me on the street. There was no occurrence, but they scare you to death when this stuff happens because you're just minding your own business, all right? The next one was 11067 Route 9. Right now, if you walk by that property, there are 3 dogs that are tied up. When they get on their run, they literally are right up against it's South Street. They are right up to the road. One of them, on a separate occasion, broke its run and came lunging right at me, scared me to death. To this day, if I walk by that street, my dogs look over and they're terrified. They don't want to go near that side of the road. Animal control officer was called on that occasion. He went out. The owner was told to tie the dog out back. The dog is back out front. There's 3 of them. They got another dog. All tied out for hours and hours and hours up against the road. It's dangerous. So the next one is 133 South Street. On this particular occasion, my dog was actually attacked. She had to go to the vet, get staples. The dog was eventually euthanized because the owners could not control their animal. It bit multiple people. Animal control was called. The next one, 1136 Route 9. This happened 2 months ago. A nice spring day. First spring day, I don't even know, it was 2 months ago. Not very long ago. Nice spring day, I'm out walking my dogs. This young lady has her dog on a leash. She weighs about 100 pounds. The dog weighs about 150 pounds. She pushed me right into traffic of Route 9. With oncoming traffic, I had to either get away from the dog or get into traffic. Can you imagine walking your kids? You're walking with an older person and you're getting lunged at everywhere you go in this town? This happens to me all the time and I'm fearful. I actually carry a taser now when I walk. And I'm not kidding because it's the only option I have in case I get attacked. The next one, 104B Church Street. Just 2 weeks ago, a little dog runs right out in the road right at me. I'm not fearful of a little dog, but it's just another example of people not taking the laws seriously. Control your animals. Keep them on a leash. Keep them in your yard. The next one was 66 Church Street. This one, same thing. I'm just walking my dog, and it comes right at me and my boyfriend, right at us, and we're standing there, scared the living heck out of us. It happens so much that I actually petitioned the town to try to get stricter dog laws, because we should be able to walk, we should be able to live without fear, and just, we pay taxes. Can we walk in this town and have stricter dog laws to keep animals under control? And that's all I'm asking for. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, Ms. Jewett. This is exactly what this law is trying to achieve. That's why we...
I appreciate it very much.
Okay, have you had time to review it? Did it address the majority of your concerns?
Mostly what you had explained to me over the phone, if you wouldn't mind reviewing, could you briefly explain the new laws? Is that possible?
Well, I can cover one part, Tom.
Did you cover
So
part
in addressing one of your questions in terms of when a dog is tethered or when a dog is in invisible fencing, how close to the proximity of a sidewalk or a road, we put something in that indicates that it's required that dog owners that utilize invisible fencing, number one, have to have a permit issued by the town now. Number two, all dog owners, whenever possible, due to the property lot size, should not be permitted to tether their dog or permit invisible fencing to be nearer than 10 feet from any public sidewalk or property line. I think that will take care of some of your questions and concerns. The rest, I think, has to be just addressed as individual incidents when you fill out the necessary forms with Jody Perrier, and just continuing to kind of follow up is all I can ask.
I looked at other town laws, and one big one that stood out to me was dogs must be under control. So if you've got a 7-year-old child trying to handle a 200-pound dog, that's not controlling your dog. You know, that covers a large spectrum as far as dog control. Control your animal.
That is in here as well.
It is also in here, just give me a minute to find it, and I will kind of read the section for you.
It's, I believe, section 3, under controlling of the animal. It's
I'm
after
not
the
sure
barking.
Well, it is authority. It's gotta be in 5.
It actually addresses the actual age of the individual with the dog.
Mhm.
That's good.
And that's in here. And that's the license
Am I,
I think it might be in section 5, number 1. No dog with a license or unlicensed shall be allowed to run at large in any street, sidewalk, lane, or public place unless said dog is effectively restrained by a leash not exceeding 6 feet in length, affixed to a collar or harness of the dog, held by a person of sufficient strength and ability to adequately restrain the dog. Or alternatively, unless said dog is in the immediate custody and control the owner or a responsible person who is over 12 years of age.
thank you very much.
Yeah, I believe it's gonna cover most of the issues. I mean, I don't.
When we looked at your correspondence back in the fall, that was one of the things that we did when we kind of took this local law number 3 on, was to address some of those issues and concerns. And I think if you have the opportunity to read through all of local law number 3, you're gonna see, I think that we've done due diligence, so.
I really appreciate it, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have comments in regards to the dog law?
Is that, the article you just read, section 5, subsection 1?
Yep.
That is equivalent to the towns of Beatmantown, Shazy, Amtown, Plattsburgh.
That's correct. Well, we did use various towns and villages' laws and of course the state pull,
Yeah.
state ag and marks to pull out of this verbiage.
I'm the dog control officer for all of those areas, and the law, if it's followed, it works.
Okay. And Jody's had plenty of time to review this and given us revisions. We made those revisions accordingly to his guidance. Hopefully this.
Can I ask one more question?
Mhm.
Just, is there a plan to put that out in some way, social media, a town Facebook, so people are aware of the changes?
It'll be on the, it'll definitely be on the website. I don't know if we put that on Facebook. I suppose we could refer to it.
Right.
We could put it on Facebook to refer to the law, go to our website to see it. It's also been sent, the draft has been sent, and the final version will be resent to both villages. Mr. Perrier is requesting that they adopt this law as it is actually over and above some of their verbiage. And it'd make his job much easier. We have one court that serves both villages. It'll make it much easier for the court to have one law to follow, one set of guidelines. So, hopefully both villages adopt it as well.
And the only other thing I could add to both you, Ms. Jewett, and also anybody, other town residents, if you're seeing issues in regards to animals, please do not just dismiss it, Go onto the Town of Champlain website. There is necessary forms. Please fill those out and send those out to Jody Perrier so that we can address these issues. So, thank you.
Jody, do you wish to speak on that at all, add to that?
No, the complaint forms online are a very lucrative source of information for me, because without the complaint, it's hard for me to get any kind of traction with individuals who are allowing their dogs to misbehave. I know nobody wants to be that neighbor that gets everybody in trouble, but sometimes it's a matter of a simple conversation. Listen, you have your 5-year-old walking your Great Dane, it's not gonna work. I have your walk with them. You control the dog. If the little kid wants to hold the leash, fine, but you make sure you have the other end so you can control the dog. Bigger breeds of dog, I'm gonna let you right now, I'm 6'2", I go about 285 pounds. Bigger breeds of dog will pull me everywhere. And that's shepherds, malamutes, Malinois, those dogs, they're extremely strong. And if they are intent on going someplace, they will go. The only other thing that you can do is maybe change the leash, or how people leash their dogs. Pinch collars and collars work to some extent. The best way to control a heavier dog, and the military uses this, so you are familiar with this, is harness. A harness on the dog gives the dog less to pull on, and it's easier for the person to control. But I'm not sure the legal aspects of requiring somebody to buy a harness for their dog. That would be something that the town attorney would have to take a look at.
I think it could be recommended.
Yeah, I think I can speak on behalf of a town resident that owns a 90-pound golden retriever. And my wife cannot take her for a walk without a harness, because she just pulls too hard. So I would recommend that whoever the dog owner is, take a look at the dog specifically and address whether or not they need to, adopt the use of a harness, or, whatever works best to control the dog. You get the right word, ma'am, control, so.
Correct. Any further comments? Okay, I guess we welcome the motion to leave public hearing on local law 3 and return to regular board meeting.
Motion to exit the public hearing on local law number 3 and return to the regular meeting.
Second that.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, so I was, now we can go on to presentations of petitions, communications, and general question period. So we have a few people here with us tonight. Does anybody want to address the board in any fashion? Just please give us your name and address. Okay. Thank you very much. I will do my report and then we'll do the fire department after that. Okay, supervisor report for May 9th. Good evening, everybody. The town and I wish to thank everyone who helped with the cleanup of litter held on Arbor Day. The area is clean where Prospect Road, Dubois Road, the intersection of Route 276 and Prospect Road, and Route 11 between Hayford Road and Rouse's Point, and the west end of South Street, which is your Dollar General. The volunteers consisted of town residents, village residents, town officials, the Rouse's Point, Champlain, Kiwanis, and it was a great achievement. We filled a 12-foot dump trailer with garbage collected just from those areas. Next on the schedule for cleanup is Route 276 and Prospect Road from 276 to Rouse's Point. This will be done by the NCCS Outdoor Club and members of the National Honor Society. Rob Guerin, Jason Borey, and I are planning on working with these students, and we welcome anyone who would like to join us. This will be on May 20th at 9 a.m. starting in front of the high school. Additionally, on Arbor Day, we planted a tree in Bob Venn Park. The tree was donated by the Rouse's Point Champlain Kiwanis Club for our park and rec trail. The town will be planning 4 more through the Clinton County Complete Streets grant soon. We will have a leadership meeting this month and we'll be discussing the following topics. We're hoping to plan a fun run on the rec trail starting at Bob Venn Park, connecting Rouse's Point and the village of Champlain. I am hoping that it'll be a combination of a 3K, 5K, and a 10-mile run. The specifics and date are to be determined. I am proposing that proceeds go toward the joint outdoor fitness center we hope to have for Bob Venn Park next year. I expect to be planning a Poutine month. Once again, we will have at least the same 5 local restaurants. Let me correct, that's poutine, I'm sorry, I just realized I said it incorrectly. We have at least the same 5 local restaurants that participated last year. If other restaurants would like to participate, please contact the town office. The highway department are currently out cleaning the roads, sweeping sand. Please be aware of them in your travels. Slow down when in the work zone for their safety and yours. They have also installed the delineators on Prospect along the rec trail. Thank you to the department for this, which adds an aspect of safety for the users of this walking and biking path. Please keep our pedestrians and bikers' safety in mind while you are driving. As the New York State signs politely say, phones down, eyes up. Public announcements. The Champlain Fire District public referendum vote is Tuesday, May 16th from 1 to 9 p.m. Please get out and cast your vote for this much needed project. I, as a taxpayer, realize that this comes at an unfavorable time along with a reassessment of our properties. However, I would like to point out that this station is important, not only for efficiency in fire and public safety response, but also because the current building does not meet the current building code standards. This is an investment for our future. The board is working very hard to market our town and grow economically. This would enhance the town of Champlain and our initiative for economic growth. The honor flight ceremony is scheduled for May 13th at 7 a.m. Thank you to the Honor Flight organization and their donors for this commendable service to our veterans. The Chamber of Commerce May Business After Hours is being hosted by Goss Chevrolet in Champlain. It is scheduled for May 18th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. To our businesses and villages board members, please come and join us. This is a great opportunity to network with other businesses and public leaders. And it's been a long time since we've had one up here in this neck of the woods, so to all those listening, please come out and join us. The Rouse's Point Champlain Kiwanis is sponsoring a fun run on May 20th to benefit Crohn's research. Registration is at 9:30 a.m. and the run starts at 10 a.m. at Elm Street, Champlain at the head of the Harry McManus Rec Trail. A reminder, the New York State burn ban remains in effect through May 14th. After that, you're welcome to come get your permits. Thank you to all our veterans and active military men and women for your service. Also, thank you to all of our first responders for your dedication to your community. We have a new shipment of COVID test kits, expiry date July 23, surgical mask and KN95 mask available for anyone. We also have mosquito dunk kits available. Please come in if you'd like to have some help to control the mosquito season. St. Mary's 54th Annual Bazaar is being held on Memorial Day weekend, Sunday, May 28th, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tractor pulls start at 11, then break for the parade at 12 noon to 1. The tractor pulls will resume after the parade, and the drawing for the raffle is at 5 p.m. There will be a pulled pork barbecue starting at noon throughout that time period. Thank you very much. So now I think we'll go into the presentation from the Champlain Fire District in regards to hydrants, both pressurized and dry. Fire Chief J.P. Fillion will be demonstrating.
Hello everyone. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm John Fillion. I'm Fire Chief here in Champlain. I'm here tonight. Councilmember Hunter and Supervisor Trombley asked me to come and talk a little bit about the status of our water supply systems within the town. A little bit of history as to how this session came about. Over the winter, we ran into some challenges with water supply issues during emergency situations in the village. And what we discovered is that some of the things that we do during an emergency have a very significant impact on the pressurized water system within the village. We won't get deep into the technical issues that we've identified, but the main thing that we found was that by working together with our village officials, we've been able to mitigate a lot of those concerns during those emergency situations. So basically, what happens when we have a fire, probably mostly in the winter, when we start drawing large amounts of water from the municipal water system, if there's any weak points, we find them. So we realized that good communication with the village public works team is critical to helping to avoid these issues when we can and mitigate them as soon as possible when they do happen. So we started with attending the village board meeting to open a dialogue. We've opened a dialogue between myself and the village superintendent of public works, Mike Joliker. Mike and I speak almost weekly about the status of the water system. We have added Mike to our, we call it I Am Responding system. This is a notification system that we use among the firefighters. We get text messages when there are incidents. We're able to send out notification messages as well. So with bringing Mike on board to that system, he gets notified every time we have a fire call. Mike is also able to send us department-wide messages if he has a concern with the water system. We also discovered one of the simplest things that none of us had ever really thought of. At the beginning of an incident, Mike's trying to call us on the phone for information, and my phone is under the seat in my truck where I threw it the third time it rang while I was trying to talk on the radio. So something as simple as recognizing that the best way Mike can contact us is by the county radio system. Even that has made a huge difference in the communication structure when we have an incident. We've also been working with the village public works, and this is going to also affect in the town as well as this grows. Our I Am Responding system has a mapping function where we can map out where all of our fire hydrants are, where all of our utilities are, and their capabilities. So we're working closely with the village to establish that, and eventually working with you guys to establish it in the town as well. We've also started doing extra trainings within our group to make sure our members are aware of limitations and potential hazards within the systems. And we've been working out potential backup plans. Areas where we can get to the river a little easier in the village, working with the village and possibly the state to make some access where we can get our trucks closer to the river. And we've also been mapping out the areas that these alternative water supplies can help with. So I share all of that because everything I just talked about, we can work with you as well at the town level. We've already worked with Supervisor Trombley. He now has access to our I Am Responding system. So we can now start doing the same communications. We can also provide that to Supervisor Racine or anybody else within your crew that should have access to it.
Yeah, it might be a good idea to have Alan on that.
Mhm. So that brings us to this session. Sort of wanted to give a little overview of where we're at with water supply outside of the village. The town does have fire hydrants that are outside of the village limits. Those hydrants are maintained by the village. I did check on that. And I think it's important that we are transparent about what we've been working on in the village because your water comes from the village system. So if we break the village system, we could potentially cause issues out in the town as well. As far as the status of the hydrants in the town, we really haven't trained with them a lot yet, so we haven't gotten a good feel for where the good ones are and where the reliable ones are. But in time, we'll make it around to start doing some training sessions with hopefully most, if not all, of the new hydrants out in the town. What we have done is we've taken a good look at our dry hydrants. For anybody who doesn't know what a dry hydrant is, it's simply a piece of pipe that is permanently mounted near a source of water that serves two purposes. The pipe goes deep into the water and has a connection near an easy access point for our trucks so that we can hook up quickly in the case of an emergency instead of having to string hoses down a riverbank or out across a beach into the lake. The second purpose is these dry hydrants, where possible, are installed, as I said, deep into the body of water, hopefully under the ice in the winter. That gives us the ability to quickly get a water supply when the river or the lake is frozen over without having to chop through the ice. So we have several dry hydrants scattered around the fire district. Most of them were installed in the mid to late 90s. They've been around quite a while. There's a few newer ones.
Is there 5 or 6? 5, I think.
7, I believe.
Is there 7, really? Okay.
We'll count as we go through.
We have them listed?
So, a lot of these dry hydrants they're aging, but a lot of the components of them are meant to last forever. But there are some maintenance points that we are seeing some difficulties with. So, over the last few weeks, after I was asked to come and talk tonight, our members have been out and about with the trucks, flushing dry hydrants to make sure there's no dirt and debris in them, and doing flow tests to see how much water we can actually flow out of each dry hydrant. In general, as I said, they're in pretty good shape. There's a few maintenance items that we do need to look at. Without getting too technical, there are gaskets in all of these dry hydrants where we connect to the fittings, and they're all old, brittle, and we did have a significant amount of trouble getting the gaskets to seal so that we could pull the water from the river. Nothing, for the most part, that stopped us, It would be a good thing to update some of those. The members who performed the testing stated that in some cases they were difficult to see in the dark. When these were installed many years ago, the first ones were actually inside small houses, basically, like, they almost looked like an outhouse. And there was reflective tape on those, and when the houses were removed, there was reflective tape put on the pipe itself, and a lot of that is worn off. So, you know, it could save us a few minutes driving by one and having to turn around and come back
Just
to
use
it.
a DOT reflective tape, I'm
Yeah.
assuming? Okay.
Some of the actual fittings on the dry hydrants are getting a little worn and old. They're getting pitted from salt and debris. There's some swivel fittings that don't turn as well as they used to. One actually doesn't turn at all. And these are all minor things to fix. As far as the specific hydrants, the things that we ran into, there's one on the Leggett Road, down the road from the Leduc farm. We had a little bit of trouble with it a few weeks ago when we had a fire, but the town personnel have already been there and removed some debris that was blocking the strainer. So it's a very reliable hydrant, and we were able to flow 900 gallons per minute consistently with it.
Is it the one in proximity to Route 11?
Yes.
Okay.
So, just for a frame of reference, the primary thing that we'll do with a dry hydrant is fill tankers. So tanker trucks that are hauling water to the fire. Occasionally, we'll run what's called a pumper relay, where a series of pump trucks will pass water along through a hose, but it's much more common to be filling tankers. And the goal is to be able to fill a tanker within 500 to 1,000 gallons per minute. So if we see dry hydrants in that range, we consider that to be a successful installation. There's another one on the Perry's Mills Road, almost into the hamlet, a little bit towards the village from the hamlet. This one works reliably. The flow rate is a little bit lower. It's always been a little bit difficult to get the water flow started with this one, but it's never changed, and we haven't had significant trouble with it. So maybe we could take a look at this one sometime and see if there are potential improvements, but again, reliable.
How far from the bridge is it?
Maybe a mile from the bridge.
East, towards the village?
There's another one on the Cardan Road, down the road from Mr. Roberts' garage. This is by far the most reliable hydrant in the whole town. It consistently flows 750 gallons per minute. It never seems to flow any less or more. Absolutely no issues with this hydrant, aside from what I mentioned with the gaskets getting a little old. There's another one on the Bayshard Road that also does very well normally. There is a little bit of challenge with the one on the Bayshard Road. After the hydrant was installed, there was some development as far as housing, and there's actually a shed right behind it, but it's nothing that interferes with our operations. It just makes it a little more difficult to flow test this one because we don't have a good area to throw a lot of water around. We have to stretch hoses down to the river.
Okay.
But again, very reliable. We've had very little trouble with this one. On the Lakeshore Road, there are two dry hydrants near the marina, just over the tracks heading towards Shazy. The first one that you run into, when we flow tested that one, no trouble. Again, 780 gallons per minute consistently. We were informed by the owner of the marina that when the water gets low, he can see the pipe for this dry hydrant and he believes it's cracked. So as long as the water is high, no problem.
Right.
But if he's correct that there is a crack in it, when the water gets low, we may see some trouble. The second one on the Lakeshore Road is just past the marina. This one has a broken pipe about 10 feet out from the shore. The town crew knows about it. And we were a little concerned about flow testing it without having the full length of the pipe and the strainer, but we carefully tried it, and we were still able to flow a good amount of water with no issues.
Again, is that because the water's high?
It's because the water is high. When the water comes down low, I believe where the pipe is broken, we'll be out of water. So with this one, we're not taking it out of service, but we're gonna be careful if we use it. And it'll sort of be a last resort until it's fixed.
Well, I'll have to, you know,
Our
this one's.
minor nemesis on the Point of Fair Road, this is a challenging installation. The Point of Fair Road originally had a hydrant installed on the south side in sort of the little bay area, and very problematic. We could not get any water flow out of it. It was just constantly plugged up with junk. So the hydrant was moved out to the end of the point, going out into the open water of the lake in the hopes that the water would be cleaner. But we tend to have a lot of trouble getting this hydrant to flow a reasonable flow rate. We don't know exactly what the problem is. We feel that there may be some issues with the strainer. There's not a lot of height of water in that particular area, could be weeds. What it does is when we first start using it, we get a good flow, but after about 5 minutes, the flow drops off to 150 gallons per minute or so. It's not completely the end of the world. It's water. It's easy to hook up to. It's just a slow flow rate. So we have some tricks that we can use to make the best of it, but it's definitely less than ideal.
So should we be looking at a different location? Is there a location in Point of Fair?
That's the question. There's a lot of water around Point of Fair, but not a lot of places where we can easily get a fire truck to the water. So one of our, suggestions is that as we move forward with looking towards the future of water supply, we should probably work with your crew and see if we can find another location, or just find out what's wrong with it. In theory, the pipe isn't too long, the lift is minimal, and those are the two things that affect how well we can pump. So if we can find the problem, we should be able to make it work, in theory. The last two on Route 9B in Coopersville, near the Stetson Road, this hydrant is out of service. The fittings at the top of the hydrant are loose. We're unable to tighten them properly, and there's a significant leak that we can actually hear over the sound of the truck running. So we'll need to, at the very least, the end fitting needs to be replaced. It may need more work, we're not sure. But in general, this dry hydrant is difficult for us to work with.
It's a bad location.
It's right on Route 9B. It's difficult to see with the cars coming from either direction. And with the guardrail, we can't get the truck off the road a long ways. So I guess the message that we would share is before we put a lot of money into this one, we may want to have a discussion about maybe moving it over to the Stetson Road, or trying to find a way to get it further off the road.
Yeah, I can speak to that at the end if you want, or whatever. We've looked into that some.
And then the last one is on the La Valley Road, just outside of our district. It's actually within the Moores district, but it was originally installed by the town of Champlain back in the 90s, when all of the first group were installed. So it's sort of been, the Moores crew will work on it sometimes, our crew will work on it sometimes. This one's extremely challenging because the ice tears the pipe up almost every year. And the other challenge is that it's so high above the water that it's difficult for our trucks to pull the water up. So you've got a situation where we're sort of at our limit as far as how high we can lift the water. And if anything happens with the strainer plugging, or as it is now with the pipe broken off, it just becomes extremely difficult to use. So again, this is one that
Needs a different location.
I think a few of the people from your crew have put a lot of time into trying to get it to work. And we've got some ideas, but this may be another one that before we dump a lot of money into it, do some thinking. So that's sort of where we are now. That's the best place to start a project, is current situation. Looking to the future, we've got a lot of ideas, thoughts to share with your team as far as potential fixes for some of the problematic units, potential new installations that we could look at. We completely understand that there's a significant cost factor with any of these installations, but we do want to help move forward with our water supply systems, and we have equipment. I mean, the taxpayers of this community own those fire trucks, and we have, there's one here attending tonight, young members that want to learn how to run those fire trucks. So we can flush hydrants, we can flow test hydrants, we can provide some amount of help with any construction projects that may come up.
Okay.
And we've got some guys with a lot of experience working with these between our department, Rouse's Point's department, and Moore's department. So, you know, looking forward to the future, it could potentially be that maybe we look at some consulting companies to come in and help us with some engineering and, you know, just evaluate what we have and what we could do. That's my speech.
So to answer a couple of the questions in regards to those out of service, 9B being one of them, right? So Alan has looked into a bridge installed dry hydrant device, which is pretty cool. What it does, it folds out, so it's not even in the water. You don't have to worry about ice taking it out or anything. What in the wintertime, which you would have to do is you'd have to break the ice in order to use it, and it drops down in. Those are about $7,000 each, engineered and installed. So we're gonna have to talk about monies as we go further into this evaluation. But there's at least two that needs to be addressed by, which, would the Paradise Bridge have depth of water to sustain that?
Might be a little tough
And it's
later in the summer. It's awful rocky in that area.
It's awful shallow.
Yeah.
So the one that's there is probably in a deeper location.
Yeah, it's sort of between that small island next to the road.
Yeah.
So it's like that channel coming in between where it's a little deeper and not moving as fast.
So if there's any improvements that need to be done to that one, I can't remember where we were on the slides, but we're probably best at that location compared to spending money on that bridge.
Mhm.
And then you tell me the Cartier Road one is your best one, so I don't see any reason to do it there. So it may just be two of those that are required.
You mentioned the bridge mounted units. The company that, I'm not sure that they invented it, but I know they installed and designed a lot of them. I know Alan has looked at the Got Big Water, is the name of their company, and Jim Davis, I believe. They're an incredible company to have on our side if we choose to go forward and start looking at getting creative with designs and.
Okay.
I've never met Jim, but I met his brother, Larry, who was a very, very well-known instructor on rural water supply systems. He toured all of North America, a very well-recognized name in our business.
Okay.
And the two of them created that company, and that's what they do, is help rural departments find water.
So Alan spoke with the county, and also with county EMS services. And they don't know of any money available for this, but they're investigating it to see if there is any assistance in the cost. As far as putting them on the bridges, because they're owned by the county, all the county requires is an engineer that and provide drawings before they approve it. So we've made a couple of steps forward. We're just gonna have to really look at that. So I think we need to get more of an estimate on everything that varies. So I'll talk to Alan. Maybe we can see if we can get this company give us some assistance.
I think the last thing that I wanted to mention in closing, going forward, we'd like to suggest a similar situation as to what we've done with the village, where we pull together a group of us that can start working closely together on all of these efforts, so that we can continue forward with sort of a unified message.
Yeah, if we can start that right away, let's do that. Get Chris involved, one of the council members. And, probably either Alan or if he wants to appoint one of those men, one or the other. Sound good?
Thank you, JP.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the help.
You're welcome, and, I saw the mapping that they've been doing on the village lines, I'm anxious to see the rest of the system get done, it's pretty cool. They can pull up to the scene with an iPad and find the hydrant, know what its capability is. All the data's in there.
Good.
I think we need to list game requests.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
John.
you.
We've only got 5 minutes before I gotta join the, we have a Zoom with Barton and Judas in regards to grant funding for a proposed sewer project for Route 11. You got time to approve your report, Julie? And I'll come back to the council members for their report. Thank you, Woody.
Thank you.
Yeah. With the approval of Julie's report.
I make a motion that we approve the town clerk's monthly report for April 1st through April 30th as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion?
No?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you.
Can we look at the code officer's report within the window we've got?
Let's go ahead.
Put that one to sleep.
Okay. You have questions on it?
Vacuum pump on the Dubois Road.
Mm-hmm.
So what was done there in terms of,
So that one, there's a switch that's, I did not get installed because it's still not in. Okay, we'll talk about that when we get to, new business or old business. Yeah, so they've got a switch and a valve that still has, and the heater that has to be installed.
heater
The
too?
switch and the heater.
Okay,
That switch is still not in,
okay.
but if you remember, when we get to old business, we'll talk about it. There was a quote because they pulled the pumps and they determined the seal and the impeller should be replaced. I did pose a question to them a few days ago.
Right.
Since you're not ready to come back up until a minimum of the 17th is what they're saying. If you had the parts for the pumps, would that quote be reduced by saving travel time?
Right.
The answer was yes. So we're gonna look at approving it. I just don't have the new quote.
Okay.
My guess is it'll be about $1,300 less.
And what does travel cost there also?
That's what the travel
Right.
cost is,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've confirmed that we can do it based on what's in that account,
Okay.
plus the fund balance for that account. I think it might make sense, but we'll have to deal with that in business.
And then the only other question I had is with the interest starting to pop up for prospective buyers for Airbnbs, I think it's something that the town ought to start to look at. So,
Yeah, I know, we're gonna address it in the comp plan,
we have to.
yeah, well, definitely we are. I mean, that's hopefully starting soon. Just this past week, there was an email from Scott from AES,
Right.
to Irene, which is through the funding agency, like, where are we at with it? And it's still sitting in that review, waiting for signatures.
Okay.
It's moved along a couple of steps, but we're still waiting for that final signature. I never would have guessed that you could get approval to a grant and then have to wait so long in order to move forward. The mayor and I have been filling our seats on that committee
Right.
to get prepared, so we can be ready to be up and running the minute that she says we have a signed document. The other thing here is I question this, the zoning inquiry for Old Duty Free on St. John's Highway.
Yes.
I just wanted to confirm that is Route 11, north of Rouse's Point. And then, of course, the solar on Route 11 at Rapids Road. And I think they have to redo what they were planning on applying for. 'Cause that one was actually extending all the way to Route 11 in the C1 zone, so they've been told they can't.
Right.
So they're gonna have to shrink it down a little bit.
Okay.
Okay?
That's all I had on that.
All right. See if I can jump on this, or we lost it.
Has they joined?
We just joined, hello.
Good evening Supervisor Jason Deno, how are you, and Matt Cooper?
Very good, Jason. Trying to see, have we got our video okay?
I do, but I see a chair, it's directly, I think if you pull the camera up a little bit.
In the care.
Did it now down?
Yeah, it's looking at.
Yes,
You're
it did.
down.
Yes, it did.
There we go, there we go.
It must be when I moved the laptop.
Good evening, everyone.
How are you?
Good evening.
Pretty good.
I'm a little bit here in the corner, but
Well, thank you for having us this evening.
thanks for speaking on Lou's behalf. And if I understand correctly, you're going to speak to the funding process from your experience?
Yes, so, Matt had invited me, I know Matt and the team at BNL has been, working with the municipality for some time. And I think Matt asked me last week or so to join his team in out of the Watertown office to discuss or assist the BNL team internally to assist the town moving forward with their co-funding scenarios that are playing out for the sanitary project. Can everyone hear me? Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
You hear back there?
Sometimes Zoom is difficult to hear, but, so, like when I was talking to Matt, it's whatever I can do from the BNL team to assist. So my background, I spent between DEC and EFC, the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, over 25 years of civil service. And a year and a half or 2 years, I was the executive director at the Washington County Sewer District, local county near me, and ran their operations and collection system and compost facility. So, and then my experience bringing to the BNL team, the co-funding, the project management, construction management, startup planning, design, with facilities, was a good fit. And you have a good team. BNL is a lot of support, a lot of structure there, and no better firm. So I'm comfortable, I'm happy, and I'm here to help the municipality move forward now with their clean water project. So whatever I can do to help with my experience, I am here. And I know you're on current Clean Water State Revolving Fund intended use plan. And any updates to that plan will need to be made by June 16th, right? That's the EFC, or the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, is requesting all updates to any projects that they may have them made by June 16th. So that means, you know, as we discuss these projects in detail and co-funding, it really comes down to supervisor and board members' project readiness, right? Project readiness is engineering reports completed, environmental review completed, bond resolutions completing, giving the authorization to borrow, your SHPO, and any local or permitting. So that really shows the funding agencies that the municipality is committed to moving forward, and they're ready to receive, you know, either federal or state financing. And there's no better time, right? There's no better time than now. In my experience, supervisor and board members, that I've seen in my years at DEC and EFC, for the amount of grant dollars or low interest loan dollars, because they're really, at the time when I started, it wasn't, the SRF was a loan program, right? The max you could get was hardship financing. And now that's surpassed with the Water Infrastructure Grant Program, the bill, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and the Bond Act, right? The Bond Act that was approved by the people of the state, of $4.2 billion. And now of that $4.2 billion, almost $225 million is going to be instituted into water quality projects this year, which was announced under the Water Quality Improvement Project program, or WQIP, or WIA, right? Or WIA, I should say, not WQIP, but WIA. All these acronyms, right? They can be confusing. So the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, right? WIA, was implemented with Bond Act dollars. So there's about 200 million in WIA this year. And there's 225 million in Bond Act dollars. So, which, if you look at it, if you look at the act itself, the Bond Act itself, out of that 4.2 billion, only 625 billion was dedicated specifically to water, wastewater projects. So that means a third this year, right? So a third, if they're releasing the funds this year, you know, the next 3 years are going to be critical for municipalities to start submitting applications, but they really need to show the readiness, right? And everything that I've looked at from your community standpoint, board members, you know, from the eligibility to the hardship, we're there, right? We're there with, you know, what the census data is telling us, because the census data today, the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation is specifically looking at what we call they're looking at the 2021 American Community Survey, which shows the community, you know, with an MHI, a medium household income, at 48,888. So competitive, right, from a hardship standpoint, and a family poverty rate of 16.6%. So, not from an economic, we don't want to be there, but from an eligibility standpoint, we're in good shape, you know, as a qualifier to meet those eligibility requirements under WIA or base SRF financing or bill. And I know the project, it's currently listed on the 2022-2023 intended use plan, which is and I'm sure Matt's gone over this with the board and supervisor, what that is. The Clean Water State Revolving Fund intended use plan is a list of projects across the state. And there's four categories in that intended use plan. And that intended use plan, you know, category A, so population's up to 3,000. category B is 3,000 to, believe it's 2 million now. And then category C is all New York City projects. EFC actually handles all the New York City financing under the clean water for the city. And then category D, of course, is the hardship. And that's what I see where the community currently is, right? The town itself is in category D, or I think they call it D-1 now, or supplement D. So that's good. That's good news. It's in the hardship criteria. And then, now with that listing, right, so I'll talk to Matt. I know Matt's driving, so I don't know if he can kind of chime in here, but, my goal would be to work with Matt's team to say, okay, do we have all our updates for June 16th? Any changes in the engineering report or whatever, final costs? We want to make sure that's all updated in for the next intended use plan, right? So the intended use plan follows the federal fiscal year. So as of 10/1, October 1st, the new IUP will be available, which would go to 9/30. So we would know where we are and the type of financing that would be available after 10/1. But that doesn't mean that the community is not eligible to apply, which is that most of us, we just recently, May 3rd, EFC and the Governor's Office released the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act funding, right? The application itself, which has an end of July due date, deadline. So that would be kind of my focus, to see where we are from a readiness standpoint, like we talked about, with the engineering, the environmental, the SHPO, local council, bond council, environmental, board resolutions to district formation and so on. So that's a kind of something internally I want to work with Matt's team on to find out specifically where we are. Are we comfortable in making that move to go into the application period? So I believe we are, but I think Matt, are you, hello?
Yep, can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so, we completed the PER and IUP update last year. And at that time, the board was comfortable with moving forward with a WQIP application, simply because it didn't require any further steps in readiness to submit. However, the realization is readiness is still a part of the scoring criteria for a WQIP, and and it was identified in the communication that the town received, that that's where the project did score as well as in project readiness. So the decision that the board is faced with this year is, do they want to invest in some of the project readiness steps to improve their score on the WQIP, and second, by doing those things, then be eligible to apply for a WIA, complete the seeker, district formation, and bond resolution. That's what has been discussed of late. It's often with communities the question of, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? We don't want to spend money on this project till we know if it's going to get a grant. Well, in some cases, you can't get the grant until you spend money on the project. So, that's where, the board's faced sometimes with tough decisions on, investing money in those project readiness steps. And, that was one of the reasons Jason and I had asked you to join the meeting tonight, to be able to provide some firsthand experience in funding agency evaluation of projects from a readiness standpoint, and how, readiness sometimes separates the winners from the losers when it comes to grant award, grant selection. So that's kind of where we're at, I believe. I don't know, Tom, if you feel like characterize that fairly accurately.
Yes, you did. So at our last meeting, as you know, the board chose to table that decision long enough to try to get some feedback from the residents of that district. To date, we have some back.
We've got about 15% of the 124 approximate parcels that have sent back feedback to us.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that percentage one more time?
15.
About 15.3%.
Okay.
Is in.
They have until Friday, the 12th of May, to submit a survey.
Okay.
I've had some conversations, Matt, and I've had both sides. I've had a couple of property owners that are very much in favor of this because they have aging septics, they don't wanna have that investment in front of them. And then I've had the opposite, where there are, for one, is a commercial facility that doesn't really even require the sewer, so that one was very negative, but that's all I've gotten verbally so far. It's about a 50-50
Yeah.
discussions.
Okay.
It went both ways.
So from, okay, so, from a project ready,
I think we lost you,
I
Matt.
was just gonna say, from a timing standpoint, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
From a timing standpoint, Tom and I, you and I have talked a couple times about the time it takes to complete some of those steps we talk about. Seekers takes at least 30 days.
Mhm.
And then the district formation will take, at least 40. And those are in series, so it's the 30 and then the 40. And that's stacking them as tight as you can, and likely having to schedule special meetings to hit those dates exactly, because sometimes if your board meeting's at the 40th day of after the seeker started, then you just kind of wasted the last 10 days waiting for a regular meeting. So if you have the interest survey results by May 12th, you'd have to make a decision quite quickly after that to decide, are we gonna do seeker district firm and bond resolution?
Okay.
In order to try to have those done by the July 28th WIA deadline.
So we'd have to possibly have a special meeting on the 16th if you wanted to discuss the results and make decisions. Does that sound reasonable?
I don't think we have sufficient information to be able to make a decision tonight. So,
Right,
I mean,
right.
we definitely have to wait and kind of see what the rest of the data shows. I can tell you that based upon the applications that I've looked at, the survey results, as well as the electronic, that majority of the people are not feeling in favor of having this particular debt put on their laps. So we're really gonna have to wait and see what these other surveys show after the 12th of May.
Yeah, and then we'll have to, Matt, if we did the abbreviated proposal that you gave me, we could make it to at least get the WQIP applied again for, right? With some readiness.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
I'll have that for that meeting on the 16th. Is that date could be okay for the majority of us? Just to give you some insight on this, Matt, it's very poor timing to put this survey out, because this survey went out pretty much in alignment with a public hearing and a vote for a new fire station for the fire district, which is gonna tax the taxpayers, okay? And on the heels of both of those going out, the school put out their budget, which is being voted on the same night as the fire district, on the 16th. And then along with that, we had a reassessment in the county, so they all got hit with reassessments. All those pieces of paper came in the mail like within the same week.
Yeah,
And
3
that's hurting this evaluation, I can tell you that. It's definitely putting a negative spin on it.
Yeah, I would expect so. I mean, I would normally caution any board, or advise any board, in an interpretation of interest survey results, that interest surveys tend to draw out the no's much better than the yeses. So the no's you get are a pretty good representation of everybody that's opposed, usually. You usually don't get as good a representation as the yeses, because a lot of people that, are in favor, but not necessarily strongly in favor, like, yeah, if they build it, I'll connect. A lot of them don't respond. But those opposed have actually a pretty high response rate, so
You wanna be heard.
Yeah.
it's hard to, so how do you act upon the interest survey results, even when there's what appears to be a fairly strong no? So, if you get a 25% response rate and, the majority of those are no, that might represent 20 of the overall 20% of the overall population of the district. That's a no. And that's all that would be a no if all 100% responded. But
Makes sense.
it's difficult for a board to make a decision to act upon that when, your raw results from the interest survey show a majority opposed. But I feel I do have to, based on our experience, throw that out there.
Has the survey been shared with BNL? Do you have a copy of it, Matt, that was mailed?
I drafted it for them.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty much, we didn't really make any changes other than.
Very few.
Other than putting the
So,
town of Champlain in there a couple of times.
when these projects develop, right, that's great. A survey out there, you're looking at interest, you're looking at the ideas, you're telling the story, why the need, what's driving the need, failing on-site systems, whatever it may be, right? And the co-funding agencies, right, you're looking at their water quality based, at least the ones that you've applied for today or up to today, is all water quality, public health, environmentally driven, right? That's the priority. That's the funding mechanisms. It's not the economics. The economics is the byproduct of the new utilities or infrastructure coming in. It's kind of the bonus, right? So getting an idea of what that survey is, maybe, right? That's one idea. That's one thought. That's looking at the opinions of those in that proposed district. But have we discussed, and Matt, in terms of public informational meetings, bringing the proposed district or those folks into the meetings and discussing what the project is and the proposal and getting their feedback? Have they been part of the team, right, as you're developing this initiative?
We haven't had a public information meeting yet.
Okay. Those are
When we initially proposed this years ago, Tom, did we have one back then? I don't recall.
Well, I think the only one we would have had would be when we were doing the joint project with the water,
Correct.
when it was all one.
Okay.
But I don't think we had one specifically for this sewer district.
Not since the sewer got removed because of, Rouse's Point dropping out, no.
Okay.
So Jason, we originally put this report together, maybe 8 years ago? And then it just kind of sat idle for a while, and then it got re-scored, because the water body Champlain was reclassified as an impaired body. So the score shot up significantly on the IUP. And that's where, we revisited the project and said, hey, you actually got a fighting chance of getting this funded now. Let's see if there's interest from the residents on reviving this.
Right, and there is some, I really have my doubts that the survey's gonna give us a good handle on it. So if I schedule this special meeting on the 16th, we'll evaluate what came in. we'll see if the board is willing to entertain at least getting project ready to that minimal point that you gave us a quote for. And then, as we move forward from there, we could do an informational public meeting and try to get some, try to get some of the folks here that are in those districts that are in trouble. You know, folks from South Street, folks from Eden Lane, that are having aging, failing septic systems. They're folks that are gonna be in favor of it. I would hope that they would fill these surveys out. They're the ones that are faced with a large cost, and in some cases, probably impossible, circumstances to even put a septic, replace that septic system. The ones on South Street, could you speak to that at all, Matt? I don't know if Jason's ever been informed of that little section of this district.
Yeah, South Street has had,
That's
quite a
pretty
history now of failing systems, entering the river, contaminating nearby wells. And that actually has been pretty well documented, going back quite a ways.
Mhm.
And do we have tribunal orders, Matt, or order on consents from the health department or DEC?
I don't know of any on those individual property owners at this point.
That would be something to even highlight, you know, there's your driver, right? As you look at the scoring, board and supervisors, you're looking at the water quality classification of the water, the body of water that you're impacting, right? Groundwater, surface water, or whatever it may be. And in that scoring system under the base SRF program, so it's classification, it's intergovernmental relations, and that is like order on consents, tribunal orders from the Department of Health. So either it's a Clinton County or the district office, whoever it may be from the Department of Health, many layers, is looking at those Article 75As or those tribunal orders. So that's a huge part of the scoring system from a point scale, 25 points just for that type of finding, right? And then you have management plans. Well, we know we're impacting the water body at Lake Champlain. We know there's a TMDL for Lake Champlain. So we know we would meet those criteria. We know we would need financial need criteria based on our median household income and below the statewide median household income. So we know we qualify there, you know, from additional points. But also economic need, right? Economic need, looking at the economics of the surrounding area and in the community. So there's those criteria that are to your advantage, right? As you're describing and telling the story of the need for the project and highlighting those aspects when submitted in the engineering report, but also in your public informational meetings, driving that. So in the end, right, it's all the users saying, well, what is the impact to me, right? The end user, what is this going to cost? Your engineers have developed a number, right? And that number you're presenting, but why, you know, and what is that impact to me, that individual homeowner? And what are we doing to assist the financing and developing that plan of finance to assist in that, bringing that user charge to an affordable rate, right, that everyone can accept. And that's those discussion points that need to be really highlighted in either in the public informational setting and to the co-funding agencies.
Okay, so is that something we could do if we decide to move forward on the 16th, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, your point score at this time is up there quite high. I mean, I think it's a matter of project readiness that's gonna tip the scale for you from a grant award standpoint.
We're pretty close, Matt. We're pretty close. I mean, they got 89, right, from a score on the IEP. But their blended affordability was at 61, and that, bill under the bipartisan infrastructure was drawn at 63. So we're right on that threshold on the IUP. So the more information, the better, and if we can show and look at for instance, we talked about the failing on-site systems. If there's documentation out there that you have from the county health department or DOH, we wanna have that information.
Yeah, and it's, all the existing stuff for South Street's all in the PDR.
It's in the report?
Yeah, it's in the report.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it, you know, it boils down to, I think, you know, the board, feeling compelled enough from public support to move forward with project readiness. You know, and it's just a matter of, okay, what is that feedback from the public? Is it compelling enough or not for you to move forward?
Mm-hmm.
So.
I agree.
Okay. Well, I guess that's the best we can do is I'll set that special meeting for the 16th, and we will try to make a decision between the 12th and then.
Okay.
Keep in mind that on the 16th, you have the school vote, you have the fire department's vote, you've got a lot of other things going on
It's
that
not
day.
a good day.
So just want to point that out.
Makes sense.
Would you rather choose another day then?
That might be better.
I would think so.
So I don't know.
Are you thinking, Supervisor, you'd have Matt and I at that meeting?
I'm not sure, would you like to have them in on it?
I don't know if there's a need yet, but
I don't think so, I think right after that, hopefully we can make a
Correct.
decision, and hopefully it's moving
Okay.
forward, and then hopefully we'll get you together for steps going forward, and I think we do need, rather than wait until we get all the grant results, maybe start doing some informational meetings where we can explain better than the survey. The survey laid it out, but it didn't really lay out the needs that well.
Okay.
And if you have any questions that come up before the next meeting, obviously feel free to call us.
Most certainly, yes.
Well, we'll discuss this further on the 16th, whether we can squeeze that in or not, because the rest of the week is not good for me either. The only thing I could do would possibly be the 17th. The rest is pretty packed. So would that give you enough time, Matt, if we made a decision in that week?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, enough decision, or enough time to do what? Apply for the WQIP or the WIA? Because the WIA needs district formation and bond resolution.
I thought that the condensed version you put together was to have project readiness for WQIP, to be able to get that done by July.
Yes, I didn't know if you meant to be able to apply for WIA by July 28th.
Well, they're on two different tracks. So the WIA, right, was just announced May 3rd, has an end date, a deadline of July 28th, right? The WQIP is in the umbrella of the consolidated funding application.
Right.
So, which hasn't been announced.
Last week of July.
Yeah, that has not
I'm
been.
making the assumption I'm making the assumption it's due the end of July as it has been past years, but we don't know that for sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
that hasn't been announced, Supervisor.
Okay.
Seventeenth would work for me.
What's that?
I said the 17th does work for me.
Does work for you?
Yeah, whatever you need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we'll shoot
Not
that.
for me.
For
I
you.
won't be here.
Can we record it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll be meeting on the 17th, and hopefully I've got more information for you. If I think of something, Matt, I'll shoot an email out. I need more supporting documents.
Okay,
Okay?
Thank you, Jason and Matt.
Thank you, very nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, Jason.
thanks, have a great evening.
Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what time are you thinking, Tom?
There's at 6 o'clock.
Whatever's good for Jason, I mean,
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
retired, Dad.
That's fine, yeah. Whatever you need,
Do you
just
think,
let me know.
do you think 6 PM be good for you?
I can do that, yes.
Okay. So we'll set that for 6 PM, Julie. I'll have to advertise that. That work for you as well, Ann?
Yep, I just think to myself, what are we doing? I don't think we should get into bed with them again. And I do not like the
It's-
whole idea of entering into more debt when we still have people obligated to a debt on the first project we got into. I don't think it's fair to ask our constituents to get into more debt like that. We're just not ready for that. I mean, yes, I understand, it's unfortunate that we have areas that are having problems. But
Which-
my
which-
septic
which-
system failed years ago. What happened? Well, we
You had to
somehow
fix it.
scraped it together and coughed it up and
Right.
had a new one made.
I know,
Done.
but the conditions, the criteria for a new one now is much different than it was even 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah, this is quite a few years
It's
ago
getting
that this
worse.
happened to us,
It's
but it was
getting worse.
$9,000 we didn't have.
You know, now, for example, the fire district, they're looking at having to spend 25,000
For septic system?
to put a septic system in, which will have to be pumped. The septic would have to be pumped, they're expecting every 4 to 5 years. They have to put a holding tank for all the wash bays, which will be pumped out quarterly,
Wow.
because that's not able to go into the septic system because the
Right.
ground cannot handle it. So they've got a storage tank in the ground that has to be emptied. And they're guessing it's quarterly, it could be more often. So that's a huge cost too, which falls
It is.
directly on the taxpayers. You know, that's an example. The other example is the border station. They don't, even the federal government didn't like the cost of the engineers came up with for their septic system. So now they have contacted us and they're willing to bore under Route 11 to get behind Chevrolet
Yep.
and tie in, because that's gonna be much cheaper than a
Right.
septic system. Those are the types of things you're looking at. Mark Bayshard's house, they built just a few years ago, he's got like $20,000 invested in that, and it's an above-ground system because the clay is so prevalent
Right.
along Route 11.
We have clay everywhere around here.
He-
It's not like Keysville where there's sand,
He
sand,
has
sand.
issues with that and maintenance costs added to it. So, to the folks that have them and they've been working, getting by, that's gonna be a problem in the near future. The problem with like South Street is,
Mhm.
how are we gonna do it just for them? If you think that it's gonna be hard on some of these homeowners to spend $73 a month if we got all the grant funding, it's an estimation
Well,
for.
that's the whole thing. If
If.
we get all this grant
So if we
grant money,
don't, and
it's-
we have to put pipes in the ground to take care of those people, because if the Board of Health finally puts their hammer down and goes
Out.
out, those people will, it'll be astronomical, it'll be a little tiny district with what, half a dozen homes on it? Can you imagine what the cost would be?
Yeah, you couldn't do it just for that area alone.
No.
And honestly, I think we should dig deeper into those 124 parcels where we sent letters out to and kind of get an idea in terms of like what their income levels look like. Because, for these people, anywhere from $73 to $100 a month is a lot.
It is.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
It is.
It might make the difference between whether they can have medicine or food.
And that's why, to me, I almost figure when he says that we're a category D1 hardship, I can't understand why these numbers are this high. I would think that the numbers would be lower, just identifying with that alone. So,
Yeah, and that's based off, getting the larger bulk of the grant.
correct, and you
So-
don't even know what those amounts are gonna be or what the rates are yet, because he said that won't be decided till 10/1.
Wow.
So, I'm reluctant, at this point, I'm very reluctant.
Yeah.
I understand the need, I
Yeah.
understand the need for economic growth, I understand the need for sanitation, health, all these other reasons, but I also, there's a lot of things we have to consider here. And it's, you know, on top of everything else that these people have been impacted with over this last 2 weeks, with the change in the assessment, you know, the fire department, it's a lot
It's
to.
bad timing.
It is awful
Terrible
timing.
timing. It's terrible timing for the fire department even.
And how many of those properties in fact fall into that category that could possibly, I don't remember in the report seeing those that, you know, whether or not they're specifically on South Street or elsewhere, that fall under concerns for the Department of Health.
It's mostly South Street,
So,
and I think there's more than 3 on South
is there
Street.
more
Yeah.
that are affected directly?
I thought it was a half a dozen, but maybe I'm wrong. I'd have to go back to the report and look too.
Because we have to consider, you know, are we gonna spread the burden among all 124 parcels for those 6 parcels alone at this time? So, that's something that we gotta contemplate.
That's why, like, the homeowner on Eden Lane, when he told me that he was welcoming this because he has a 40-year-old system and doesn't wanna have to invest in a new one, which he knows he's gonna have to do soon,
Right.
I hope he fills the survey out.
I would hope everybody that received that letter would, you know, just out of being able to gather information and determine how to move forward, would make this easier
Mhm.
for people so that we don't make an ill decision
Right.
and in fact put that upon people that maybe feel that they can get another X number of years out, I don't know. It's-
You know, then the other negative to holding off is it will be
More
a
expensive.
couple $1 million more next time we go around,
True.
a year from now.
Very true.
All right,
Well, the
Talked
government
about that
doesn't
worse
seem
now.
to be too worried about how many trillions we're getting into for. It's scary. I don't know if we'll have any money from the government.
so to go back, we'll try to do a quick report from the council members, since we've used up a lot of the time tonight, and we still have some business to take care of. Councilmember Rochester, do you have anything to report tonight?
I do not.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Boric.
Yep, I'll be quick. I wasn't able to make the zoning board meeting. It was held on the 20th of April. It looks like from the minutes from the meeting, there was a public hearing that was scheduled and took place for an area variance, which looked like it was approved. Julie, again, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. And it looks like there's another public hearing that's gonna be scheduled for May 18th at 5:30. That's Thursday, May 18th. And the regular meeting will be then, as well as this public hearing. So that's zoning board. Marketing, we had a meeting with the Boyer Benner Group on the 26th of April. Moving forward with the mission statement, vision statement that we have with the updates. They've updated our logo, the stationery, all the stuff. We had a healthy conversation about the website and what the website's gonna consist of. Components of that, and I believe they have all that information that we took the time to provide to them. So, I don't have a number in terms of when we're gonna see some prototype, but I think that's in the process, if I'm not mistaken, that will, they're taking all the information we've given them, and I think they're trying to work something through to kind of give us an idea of what it's gonna look like, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Correct. Can we refresh our memories though on what we were supposed to be doing in regards to the surveys for the restaurants that we were going to do? I know I was gonna make them, but I thought we had to come up with our series of questions.
And I think we talked a little bit about that, Jason, in terms of
Yes.
after we met going over the Benner survey, that, you know, we can kind of identify with a very few, up to 4 to 6 questions.
Yeah.
And I think I shared that with you, I think I still have those, but let me look and see.
I did ask the Board and Better Group to send a PDF of the logo so we can include it on this little survey questionnaire.
Yeah, I think the questions that I had here, Jason, were the waiting time was, and so you have like 5 options here. How was your experience with us today? From excellent all the way down to poor. How would you rate the food quality? And then the other questions were, number 4 was, how would you rate the service? Again, excellent to poor. Number 5, how likely is it that you would recommend our restaurant to a friend or colleague on a scale of 0 to 10? And then they had a 6th question is, do you have any other comments, questions, or concerns? So, it'll be very quick and brief. And
Right, but was there supposed to be a couple general questions in regards to how do you like the area?
Yes,
Yeah.
do you live here, are you from out of town?
Could
What,
include
how
that.
how did you find out about this area?
And for those watching, this is for the Board and Better Group to help, to use towards building the website. In other words, this information that we gather from these folks going to these establishments is gonna help them build those pages,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Yes, I
Right.
think, yes, in terms of,
So we do need to get after that, I guess, so if we could try to get those.
well, for meeting next week, we can maybe add that onto the list, just here's a rough
Okay.
run, I'll take the stuff that Rick's got, and we'll add, see if we can come up with something. Goal is, I think, Foursquare, we were hoping to, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct, make it small, simple, so people will do it.
Or, you know, take a page and make it thirds, we're trying to get onto at least, if it has to be 2, it can be 2, but it has to be simple enough they're gonna wanna fill it out.
Exactly.
Yes, yes.
Painless.
Okay, so we need to gather that information for them.
Yeah, so
And
that's-
we'll reach out again for that logo. I mean, I do have the Word document, that Sarah wants.
Right, yeah, the working file that we can use, yes, yes. I met with Paul, we're finalizing, the videos, finalizing the script for the business video. We just need to run it by you, just to see if there's other stuff on there that should be in or not, or, that's another thing could be brought up at the meeting too.
Okay.
Look at that. Hometown Heroes, I don't have an update on that. I'm hoping to have more information about what we're doing. We talked with the committee members about what we want the ceremony to be, but there's nothing finalized with that yet, so. I'm not 100% sure when the banners are going up, but I'm pretty sure it's soon, so. Next food truck night is on Thursday, May 25th. That's right here at the town office, from 4 to 6:30. It's a little different, we normally have been doing Wednesday nights, but this is a Thursday night, so don't make the mistake of coming on a Wednesday. So
You'll be
it's
sorely disappointed.
yeah, it's a Thursday night, 4 to 6, May 25th, and we have the Dogfather coming that night. So, the Dogfather, May 25th, here at the town office. Rouse's Point Stars and Stripes on the Lake Independence Day celebration is gonna be June 30th through July 2nd. And the committee is looking for any vendors that wanna participate in the event. They're still looking for sponsors, any businesses or groups or organizations that wanna sponsor. We're looking for those, still looking for volunteers to help with the event, actual execution of the event on June 30th through July 2nd. We're looking for parade entries, and all of that can be found on the Rouse's Point Stars and Stripes on the Lake Facebook page. And we're getting ready to, I think, launch a website for that.
Oh,
So,
good.
yes, so, anybody interested, if you have a question, Stars and Stripes onthelake@gmail.com is the email address. You can contact Karen Weyerstall through the Facebook page. Just simply send a message. Rouse's Point, Stars and Stripes on the Lake. And the other option is to contact the American Legion in Rouse's Point. They can get you in the right direction. They can take information there as well. It's also on the Village of Rouse's Point website if you're looking for forms and other information about the celebration. I think that's it from, so ends the report.
Thank you, Mr. Bory. Councilmember Warner.
I'll pick up right where Jason left off in terms of the Stars and Stripes. There's been an ongoing bottle drive that they've been holding, and so anybody that has any bottles that would like to drop them off at the Lake Champlain Bottle Redemption, 412 Lake Street, Rouse's Point, New York. Their hours of open Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6. And this is a fundraiser to support the Stars and Stripes that Jason had mentioned. So in terms of the Rouse's Point Fire Department, there's nothing to report at this time other than, of course, they will be holding their chicken barbecue during that time period that Councilman Bory had announced. Also, the Village of Rouse's Point will be finishing up their spring cleanup this week. Bless you. It began the 8th of May and it will continue through the 12th. So that's what I have for Rouse's Point. In terms of Champlain, I know you heard Supervisor Trombley talk earlier about the Champlain Fire District and their new fire station and their vote being held on May 16th from 1 to 9 p.m. One of the things I do want to point out is when this particular flyer went out, the actual tax rate that was being used was $1.37 for the special district FD 030, and now because of the reassessments, that is down to $1.27. So what you would see is you'd see a decrease from about $109.60 per 100,000 down to $99.60. It equates to about $8.30 a month. And I do want to point out that, again, if you haven't read this project newsletter, please do so. It does indicate here that the present building that they're using right now does not meet current standards. So it's very important that we kind of think about moving forward with that.
Thank you for clarifying that tax rate.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And the vote on that's May 16th,
May
correct?
16th, that's correct.
Same
And it's
day as-
right at the fire station right now on Elm Street. So that's very important that people get out and kind of support this. That's it for the Champlain Fire Department that I have. I have no new information in terms of EDU Appeal Committee. There's been no changes on that at this time, so I respectfully submit.
Thank you very much. Can I ask a question about the bottle drive? So
Sure.
do you need to let them know you're donating those bottles to that fund?
Correct, correct. Once you drop these off, all you have to do is just indicate that this is specifically for the Stars and Stripes on the lake. So, in fact, I'll give you this one and you can kind of post it here in the town office if you'd like to.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you to all council members.
Should we mention the school budget is on, school budget votes on the 16th as
It's
well?
on the 16th as well, so when you're out,
Should.
to vote on your school budget at Northeastern Clinton Central School, just run on over to the fire station and kill two birds in one night.
Double vote day.
All right, so I think we're up to,
And the time for voting for the school district is 11 a.m. to 8 p.m.
thank you.
Yes, you know.
Okay. Review of the post-audit bills. Everybody had a chance to look at those? Any questions required?
make a motion to accept the, post audit bills as submitted by,
Well,
No, we don't need a motion.
We don't need a motion, we
It's
just
on
need
the
to.
monthly.
It's on the monthly.
oh,
I have no questions on the bills at this time, on the abstract, no? That's
so,
good.
yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the bills as submitted.
Okay, thanks. For, on the monthly, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, on the monthly, and that's for a total of $35,803.19.
Correct.
Do we have a second?
I'll second
Thank you. Any further discussion on the monthly bills? If not, roll call please.
Councilmember Rochester,
Aye.
Councilmember Bory,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
that. Aye.
Supervisor Trumbull.
Aye. Thank you, motion carries. This here didn't get on the agenda, but we need to move some of the ARPA funds, the COVID money. This is to cover the invoice from AES Engineering Services. This is for the review of the submittals. The amount is $1,578, which I'm glad to say they had given us an estimate, I believe, of $3,500 for that item. So it came in way under, which is very respectable. It was based off hourly rates, and they estimated high.
And can we just find out from Sarah what the balance is in those ARPA funds? I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, we are tabulating it, but I don't have that in front of me.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. We'll find out.
Um,
So you need a motion for this?
Motion to move that COVID money, $1,578.
Okay. Into what account? Are we moving it into just
The
general?
SS2?
SS2. Okay.
No, I'm wrong, that's going to the water count.
Correct. That's-
Sorry, it's going to the water fund. I had this lift station in mind, so it's going to the water.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we move $1,578 from the ARPA funds into the water fund for AES services.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Rochester,
Aye.
Councilmember Bory,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Supervisor Trumbull.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, report from the dog control officer. You guys have a chance to look at that? Any questions on it? No, we'll keep moving on. And in the correspondence, we have planning board and zoning board minutes. Jason touched on that some, is there any further questions? Okay. EMS report.
Good to see the calls are down.
Yes, yeah, it's good to see they're down, you're right. They were 113 for April. February was a high month, 149. So yes, they are down. And the response time was remarkable. The total average 1.79 minutes. Yeah, that always amazes me. And recently had an opportunity to experience that. And they were there in that time, I can tell you that. Okay, we did the Barton and Judas Environmental Service proposal. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, this is
That
separate.
that one that's separate.
Right.
That is for the landfill, the required periodical report that has to be done. We have approved Barton and Judas to do it. It was amount of $3,500. Put that one down here somewhere.
3,465.
It's on
Thank
the
you.
back side.
Okay. Yes, there it is. Yeah, 3465.
We were supposed to check to see if we could get an extension. I think this was, the timeline was against a wall here. Did we ever check into that?
I think they feel they can have this done in time.
Oh, they did? Okay, well, that's wonderful.
No, I think that was not a problem.
Good.
I don't know if we did check into that.
And this is done every 5 years, correct? Just for our
Yeah,
community members, so they're aware?
yeah. Yeah, and the cost of maintaining that old landfill is high. I'm looking forward to that project with the solar to reduce
Right.
that cost greatly.
Yeah.
Employee handbook for review, you guys have all been sent that handbook. It's a big read, so there's no way we can act on that tonight, but we would like to get your feedback because Sarah's got a couple, basically, typographical changes that need to be done. Something, was mentioned in one section, not mentioned in the other, very minor stuff. But if you find anything that needs to be corrected, please get it to us so we can get it out to the consultant at one time, so we can be ready for next month.
Thank you, Ann, for your work on this.
Pardon me?
I said thank you, Annie, for your work on this.
Yes, definitely. Jeff has done a great job. We're very, very good, very
I thought-
knowledgeable.
He's saying about Peter's work. Well, plus everybody that I spoke with had said he's done a very good job for them, so it's
Yeah,
nice to hear firsthand,
it is. So we'll address that in new business next month. Julie, the David LePage email regarding pickleball court.
Yeah, I thought that was nice.
I do have, they also did a survey, and it looks like it was mostly all the students from the school probably that they surveyed and got signatures. They have 180 signatures to back up their request. So I think we need to continue investigating this.
If I can get permission, I'll reach out to Chris Lattimore, the administrator in Rouse's Point, and kind of see what was involved from a planning and also a financial perspective to put in the pickleball court that's there.
Definitely.
Rouse's Point. I know that because of the proximity to the tennis courts, a lot of times people that can't fit on the actual pickleball court will actually go and use the actual tennis courts. But we wouldn't have that luxury at Bob then, but at least if we provided a couple of courts, maybe.
Seems to be a popular thing
I'll reach
these
out to him
days.
and see.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. That'd be a good start, because that's the type of, that's what we have to do. We have to find out,
To generate.
and we have to find out if there's any available grant funding out there to help us with it,
Right.
and find out what it's gonna cost us.
Mhm.
Can we budget for it and move forward?
Right, and planning out where it's gonna go and like.
Correct.
Yeah, that's gonna be done soon. I am starting to write a letter to Robinson family and provide a lot of information. This will be another one to provide for me to that little triangle to see what we can do. And go from there.
Right, well, let me know
Cause
what I
that,
can
'cause
do
that
to help.
space is critical for trying to plan all these additional things in there.
Sure.
It really is, including parking.
Yeah.
And I met with superintendent and the maintenance supervisor of the school in regards, one of the discussions was the park, it was that fitness center. But Matt reiterated that he really needs that parking, especially during cross-country season. He said it's really, the trailhead, he gets all watched up, even with the additional parking they put in.
Really?
Yeah, he would really, really like to see that parking lot go in. It would help him as well. I was supposed to say that, but that was, I just shared the information we have. So anyways, we will continue looking at that. It's a copy of that fun run that I announced on May 20th. So again, I'll repeat, the fun run and walk on May 20th, starting at Elm Street at the head of the Harry McManus Trail. And, of course, it will be marked out accordingly heading toward Rouse's Point. I'm not sure where the turnarounds are.
Do you want to announce the book donations? And support the libraries on it?
That's a good idea. What are you referring to there?
At the bottom where it says that,
Oh, the local little libraries, yeah.
We
we'll
will be
book
accepting.
donations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah,
Book donations for the local little libraries and monetary donations for Jones Foundation. Okay. I think we've got some we can donate. New business. Julie, I'm gonna need something to follow. Found it?
You're in there.
Thank you. And what numbers are we gonna be up to? Or do I need to even have that right now?
Oh. Resolution 13. I think we're at 14.
So through
I think we're at 15.
15?
15,
So
yeah,
this will be 15 and 16?
yeah.
Okay. So, based off the feedback of the public hearing, I am going to propose a resolution to adopt local law number 2 of 2023, which is the Town of Champlain Noise Ordinance of the Code of Town of Champlain. Whereas the Town of Champlain Town Board recognized the requirement of the noise ordinance for the Town of Champlain, and whereas the Town Board identified the need to adopt a noise ordinance law to provide defined standards to prevent disturbances to our public. And whereas the Town Board is now adopting through the process for 272-8 Town Law, now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Champlain does hereby adopt local law number 2 of 2023. I would like a motion to approve resolution as read.
Make a motion to approve the resolution as read by the supervisor regarding local law number 2 of 2023.
And that would be resolution number 15, please.
Sorry, resolution number 15.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Rochester,
Aye.
Councilmember Bory,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Supervisor Trombley.
Aye. Okay, and now. Resolution number 16, again, based off the public hearing, I'm going to recommend that we adopt local law number 3 of 2023 entitled Dog Licensing and Control of the Code of the Town of Champlain. Whereas the Town of Champlain Town Board, the Town Board revised the Dog Licensing and Control Law, Chapter 66. And whereas the Town Board identified the need to revise the Town Dog Licensing and Control Law to add clarity and supplementary standards. And whereas the Town Board recognized that these revisions essentially replace the current Chapter 66 to address the present needs of the Town of Champlain. And whereas the Town Board is now adopting for a process of 272-8 Town Law, and now, therefore, be it resolved, I'm not seeing that. I don't have this, there it is, it's right here. Be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Champlain does hereby adopt local law number 3 of 2023. Motion to approve as read.
I make a motion that we approve resolution number 16, local law number 3 of 2023 as read.
And a second,
I'll second.
thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Rochester,
Aye.
Councilmember Lori,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Supervisor Trumbull.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries, and I'll get you those right along. Okay, we have completed number 3, which is the Zoom meeting. Number 4 is the solar power network decommissioning plan. Have you had time to come up with any editorials that need to be done? Because I haven't sent this to legal yet, because I found a few things up front. One of the things that I would like to see added in here is, if I can find it,
It's the last page.
it's very similar to what was in the solar project from Mason Road. I mean, that's where I took it from. I think that we should add that, where they have a list of stakeholders, and everybody gets copied on this plan. Because currently, it's just the town and the planning board that's receiving copies. And I think that the landowners, you know, town code enforcement, utility operators, NICEAG, they all need to have this document in their hands as well. Do you agree?
I agree.
Other than that, it's a couple little, I got some editorials, you know. Some additions to the solar facilities and so on. Is that basically what you found as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess if we could compile all of our revisions together, I will get them back to Aaron, and when that document comes back, I'll send it off to Matt.
Okay.
And hopefully next month we can, I don't think we'll have that back in time for the 17th if we did it on the agenda.
It's quite an escalation cost. I didn't realize it would be that much. A lot of money.
Yeah,
$190,000.
Ouch.
Ouch.
well, it's over for a period of time.
25 years.
Yeah,
I agree, but still, it's a lot of money.
like we just talked about, there's what, year to year.
And a lot of this is put up front to kind of, you know, put in an account to kind of hold these people accountable for this, so.
So if we agree with that, we'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting. For some reason it gets back in time for next week, we can address it, if not, it'll be June.
You're saying you want to bring this to the special meeting?
Only if we get a completed document back and from Matt, I don't think it'll happen.
I don't think it's gonna happen, I think it's stretching it, but
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm assuming it'll be June.
Okay.
But if you could leave me your editorials, so I can.
I don't have mine written down here, so,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So do it in email?
yeah, I can do it in email.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
So I'm just gonna scan in mine, that's all I'm gonna do. So, did you have any, Jason, or Ann?
No, but I'll go through it one more time just to make sure.
Okay. Okay, next thing up is quotes for tree trimming and tree removal. And there's a copy on this. Do you know if this one ever got back to us on the estimation of days?
Yes,
Is
yeah,
there
because I
any-
talked to Alan today,
Did you? Okay.
because I sent a text to Richard's Tree Service and indicated that his submittal did not indicate a time period. And he indicated that this could be done in 10 days.
Is that Eric?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. And that makes a big difference because, you know, looking at the submittal of the other quotes.
Okay, and one here seems to be a flat rate in total. The other two are by the day with an estimation of time.
They did give an estimate range though. Like Feller's Tree was between 33,000 and 42,000,
Correct.
where Kravitz was 45,000.
Correct.
And I thought his time period was unreasonable. I didn't think he could achieve that in 6 days.
This is an awful large group.
It must be one big business, you know, to kind of take that, area and cover that, so. And then Richards came in with, quotes for both a 3-person and a 4-person, so.
Putting him at a range of
35,000.
to 40.
Correct, and so that's one of the questions I had for Alan, is in terms of, what's it like in terms of follow-up? Like, some of these, in the past, when you've gone through this, you know, the towns had to have personnel kind of go in and kind of clean up some of the mess that these other people have not taken care of.
They left.
Right, and so I said, you know, have you ever worked, and he said, yeah, he says, Richards Tree Service is very good, they're very clean, they don't need us there, they don't need us to follow up, they just do the job, so.
I see again, point of fairs, needs chop, chop, chop.
Yeah, there's a lot there that
Oh my
needs,
God.
Yeah, we have a lot of ash trees that have died, and then there's a lot of overgrown trees reaching for the sun.
right,
And they're stretching over the highway looking for the sun, is what they're doing. So, Rick, kinda sounds like you formed,
well, I've gone through and I've evaluated all three, and I just think that, number one, where costs are somewhat close, I will always try to stay local and support local business.
I agree.
And number two, I can tell you that I've had Richards Tree Service actually take down trees on both my rental property and also my own personal property,
Uh-huh.
and they are top class.
no, yeah, I agree,
Company.
but just I wanna point out, this is local as well, this is Shazy.
I thought that's in Vermont.
No, it's just an 802 number, cell phone number.
I think it was native of Vermont.
He is down Shazy,
The Fellers one?
yeah. But, I mean, I agree, this is town of Champlain.
It is.
I'm not trying to dispute that, I just wanted to point that out. It tends to look like it's strictly Vermont. So, yeah. Make a motion which one you wanna go with, and, Alan. And by the way, we can use chip funding towards this.
How much chip money do we have for that?
Well, they gave us an additional 200 some odd thousand, so I think we have an additional 20,000 this year. And it looks like based on the amount of paving he wants to do,
All right,
we're gonna have all of that left to go towards this.
okay, so it could cover,
We could
Just
cover the
about all.
majority of it.
good, that's
That is
Or
wonderful.
we could decide to cover all of it and then seal the paving.
Is this something that we need to be aware of and, you know, moving forward with our budget planning process, just to include a small amount, just in case chip monies ever fall out, or, because this is typically, when they do these projects, they're good for about 3 to 5 years. Is that accurate?
Thought it
Well,
was
sounds reasonable, yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know,
I'd have to
just-
ask Alan, but
Right, when was the last time this was done?
Right.
yeah, we can put it right here for the budget process, maybe we need a budget towards it in
At
case.
least
but
some.
in this case, it could have came out of that funds
Right.
reserve, you know, fund
Well,
balance.
I'm just concerned, with,
But
for
I think
example,
we
like
have
with the ash borer and some of these ash trees, within inside the town limits, if we start to see a tree, you know, once the woodpeckers get to them, that's a pretty good sign. It's time for the tree to come down.
Yeah, and the highway's taking some down, are planning on taking some down themselves as well.
Right.
These are just for the ones that Alan can't deal with, they're too close to power lines.
Right.
So there's some he said he
It's
could
tricky.
take care of, there's a few trees he got on his radar to take care of on his own. Want to put it in form of motion?
I will put it in the form of a motion. I make a motion that we approve Richards Tree Service to provide the proposed tree trimming and tree removal for Point of Fair Road and Stony Point Road, up to a maximum amount of $40,000
Okay.
maximum.
So if he has one more day to go and he's gonna go over, we stop it there.
Unless you feel that because of the chip monies being totally sufficient, that we can go over the 40,000. I just like to hold
Yeah, I
these
think,
quotes and bids to a certain number,
Right.
because otherwise, oh, well, we'll extend
I
it
don't
2 days,
disagree
we'll
with you.
extend it. He seemed to indicate to Alan that he could do it in 10 days.
okay,
So-
so I guess what we'll do in that case is, if we'll leave the motion the way it is, and we'll have to revisit if he's,
That
unable to
changes.
complete it.
Right.
Okay, so
Okay.
I would second that motion. I think
Okay, any
that's-
further discussion, Jason?
I don't really know what this would cost, so I'm going based on what's here, and, so,
Well, it's expensive.
Seems
wherever
like a lot,
you
isn't
go.
yeah, I don't.
I think it's a risk. I think it's a risk of, number one, being around power lines, number one, but number two, I think it's just the height, and, you know, I'll tell you what, when you see him take down a tree, I
It's
saw him take
scary.
down a birch tree, and they were up there, I was like, good for you.
Well, I think if, one way to try to ensure we stay under that amount, Rick, is I'm assuming Alan's gonna provide assistance in regards to traffic control and.
He did not mention that he would, because I asked him, because that's one of the things I wondered. You know, I said in the past, if you had to, and he says, well, sometimes we gotta be down there and we gotta, I said, so that's an 8-hour loss of personnel that could be doing something else. He seemed to indicate that Richards would take care of that on their own, but
They will, but I'll have to let him know that that would mean he's gonna be close to that.
if we could provide one person for traffic, I'll tell you what, then we can keep that cost closer
It
to
would help a
35.
lot.
Keep it
Yes.
closer to
Correct.
35, that's what I'm.
And so that's something, if Alan can do that, that might be
No,
beneficial.
I'll
Well,
talk to
we're-
him about it.
And with the concern being with the power lines, that's not something that, NICEAG could be alerted to, and is there any,
As far as them doing it, you mean? Alan didn't indicate that that was a possibility. I think they need to be probably notified, so I'll talk down about that as well.
okay, yeah, just whether they, NICEAG, even if they were to be aware of it, and then if they were to either evaluate the situation, maybe part of it could be done by NICEAG, and then whatever is not done by them, because I know they only do a certain part of it, like, is making sure the lines are clear, but if there's other stuff that's gotta come out, I don't know if that would help possibly subsidize the cost to bring it down, if part of the removal is done out of a necessity by the power grid. I'm just throwing that out there, I have no idea.
I did throw it out when we started these discussions a week ago with Alan, and I can't remember if he said he's already spoke to him, but I think the answer was that they weren't going to assist.
A hard no, I think.
Okay.
But I will talk to Alan again about it.
And I'd also ask that, you know, moving forward, that we get a copy of just Richards Tree Service insurance,
Mm.
you know, to make sure that they're covered, just to kind of protect the town and any residents.
That wasn't in his quote.
It wasn't,
Yeah, it should have been. You're right, it wasn't any of them.
it wasn't in any of
Not even
them, all
like-
three of
not
them,
even
so, and I
like-
thought that was kind of remiss.
Sure, bonded wasn't,
Yeah.
helps it.
I'll
Thank you
tell
for
you
that.
what, when one of those trees goes down across Point Fair Road, nobody's going anywhere for a while.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
I've
thing.
had-
Any further discussion?
So you wait.
I will talk to Alan,
Have
and
to.
make sure that
I've
Richard
missed
provides us
concerts
with
because of
a
this.
certificate of insurance, and I will talk to Alan again about the NICEAG and about, I'll call it flagging just for now.
Yeah. Good.
And if there's no more discussion, roll call please.
Councilman Rochester, Councilman Boyd,
Aye.
Councilman Carter Hunter,
Aye.
Supervisor Trombley.
Aye. Okay, where does the whole business go?
I remember during the ice storm, could not get off of Point Fair for 3 days because of all the trees down.
That were down
the-
on the line, That was not a good
So,
time.
old business, we have water code amendment, we haven't moved any further with that, have we?
We have not.
Sorry about, that's not, no.
I know, we'll get to it when school gets out, I'm sure. I think it'll be a lot easier, but I know things have been busy, Jason, I understand, and the same here on my end, so we'll just need to get together as soon as we can free some time up. We've got it, the draft has started, I mean, we just have to fine tune it. And come up with a very defined list of what needs to be revised in the code. And one of the things, of course, is adding, you know, the fire hydrants, fees, the fines, referencing our policies now, we probably should cross-reference.
Yes, filling out the proper paperwork, yes.
Right, so, then the credit card policy, I haven't had time to look at it at all, and you provided us with a draft, but I have not looked
I
at it.
gave you a couple of different,
Yeah,
so that's something we'll have to take a look at maybe for June.
okay,
Um,
so maybe you and I can try to put some time together to
Yep,
try to draft something.
yep, we can do that.
Then the other thing is recycling. Can we move forward with that? I answered those questions that you had. One, Alan says yes, he said, we'll just have to try it. He said, well, no, we'll certainly utilize it and try to get the guys to break down the cardboard boxes and put them in the bin. The other answer is we did confirm with the cleaning agency that they will, if we put some blue buckets to collect the recycling, they will take the recycling out and put it in the recycling container.
No additional cost.
No additional cost. So,
How can we say no?
I know, I think we have to try it, and I think we'll find after 3 months, we will evaluate it,
Right.
see if it's working or not. If there's not enough recycling to mandate monthly pickup, we can go to the on-call, which will save us some funds as well.
Sure.
If it works.
Excuse me. Yep, I agree.
So, just need a motion to do a trial with Casella of including the recycling at the proposed cost, which I don't have in front of me.
I,
I forgot what they were, but I don't have that with me. Minutes? They're in the minutes.
I don't think the cost was in the minutes.
I don't think it is.
Oh, you don't have the cost? is
I
there?
didn't see it.
No, we just said that.
That's why I'm wondering, what were the costs?
It was $100 some odd dollars.
I think it ended up being like $8 a month or something.
No. it was more than that.
No, was it more than that?
I think it was an increase of about 400 a year, 500 a year,
Was it that much?
per year annually. I want
Yeah,
to say
but
400.
it is pricey, I mean, there's no two ways about it. But it's doing something good for,
It is.
it's, you know, we're just balancing out the.
I can either go find it in the file, or we could.
Can we bring this up at the special
Yeah.
that we got coming
I
up?
was just gonna
I'd
say
rather
that.
see the cost before.
I was just gonna say, I
make
would
that
push
motion
that.
to approve.
So we're gonna move this to the special meeting on the 17th
Please.
to address, and I'll have costs. I just remember it being
Who's
close to
that,
400 a
6
year.
o'clock, right? On the 17th? Well, that's good, it's not a work day, that makes such a difference for me.
Okay. Any other business? Did we do enough?
Coaster quote?
For what?
That quote? Did you want further discussion on that? That was the last thing on the
That
old
we-
business.
That we brought up. You must have handwritten it, it's not my copy, so I missed it.
Yeah,
I talked
last
about it,
page.
we talked about it earlier.
Mm-hmm. You did.
I don't have it.
It's in here. I had it somewhere.
I don't know why.
What is
It doesn't
Coast?
matter.
It
So
sounds
the Kester quote was for the replacement of the impellers on both pumps in the lift station on Dubois Road and new seals.
um,
and it was, 7,000,
That number sounds familiar.
pardon me,
7,412,
10,412?
412, 7,412.
7,412, there we go. And they haven't provided a new quote as of when I left here today. Let's just double check the email in case they sent it in. No, I have not received it from them. All I received was an email saying, yes, if we combine the two projects, you could save on travel costs. We'll work up a revised proposal and send it over, but I haven't received it yet.
Yeah, I got it here.
So my guess is it's gonna be a reduction of, I would hope $1,000,
Oh, should be more than that, but.
yeah. So the numbers we have in that fund are 28,000 in checking, and in the fund balance, which is basically the savings, right? It's 36,000. So, in hindsight, when Sarah and I looked at it again, we're like, we could cover that. I think it might be a good idea to get it done while they're coming up, instead of waiting till spring to do it then. Because that's what we do, is next summer we have to address this again, because it wasn't like we could put it off forever. We were originally thinking of putting it off until next year's budget, but we have now decided that we could
Swing it.
swing it now.
Well, it's only gonna cost us
Well,
more.
the only thing I'm concerned with is that we're only in May, you know, and we got a long way to go in 2023. Do you foresee any other cost rising on the horizon?
In regards to that district, that sewer district,
Yeah.
that should complete that lift station, which is the, unless, something was to plug that we have to clean out, or a pipe break, I can't foresee, I can't predict that.
Do you think he can give you a quote revised for the 17th?
I could, but as of right now, well, I don't have a date, because they were hoping to have the switch in for the,
Right.
and they were targeting being up here for the 17th. We can address it on that meeting, I'm sure, because they're gonna have to order those parts. The sooner they can order them, they may make it up, able to be here shortly after the 17th. So I guess what I was hoping we could approve that amount,
Up to that amount.
up to that
Okay,
amount.
we can do that.
And then there's gonna be a reduction, and I'm hoping it's substantial, of 1,000 or more.
So Sarah feels comfortable with up to that 7412. All right.
Doable.
Make the motion, right?
Yeah, okay. So, I'll make a motion to approve the payment to Coaster, for
Up to,
the, scope of supply and scope of service up to the maximum amount of $7,412 for quotation number 0000741.
I'll second that.
You like that? I'm like,
thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Julie.
Councilmember Rochester,
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Bory,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Supervisor Tremblay.
Aye. It's getting late.
it is.
Yeah, we're almost reaching that magic hour, 10 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Motion to adjourn if there's no other business.
I'll make a motion to adjourn for the evening.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Any opposed? No opposed.
No one.
Very exciting, sir.
Thanks for sticking around.
Hi there, how are you?